Welcome, welcome, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Walking with the Master. I have a tremendous couple of guests, one of which you have met before, but another one who is tremendous in, let me say, he's a master in our community. He's someone who has done some incredible things, and we're going to get into that. But again, Grandmaster Bill McCloud and my brother Felipe Luciano. Hey, I'm telling you that I'm absolutely excited about this show just to be able to get a little closer to my brother Felipe and you know, my brother Grandmaster Bill McCloud. He always says I'm jazz and he's rock and roll. So so I'm pleased to have them on our show. Welcome, Grandmaster Bill. Welcome, my brother, Felipe Luciano.
Peace be unto you, brother.
Yes, we're happy to be here. And Felipe Luciano, he needs no introduction. He's a renowned community activist, all the way back from the Young Lords, the Last Chords, a lot of things that he has done on television, Channel 5, a lot of community things that he do, and lecturing all over the country. So it's a pleasure that we have somebody of his caliber here to be able to talk about some of the things that is happening now in the community and the world at large, and how it affects us through this time that we are in. On the way here, we was talking about how some of the things, we talk about martial arts and how a lot of the things that we do is martial arts as well, but at a different level. They don't have to be kick. Martial arts is not all the time about just kicking and punching. It's about how you navigate through the briar patch, so to speak. So, for me, my brother,
yeah. There is, I think, an understanding between those who feel, those who are spiritual, and martial artists. We have moved away from that tradition. And I'm not just talking about Bushido. When you meet a martial artist, you are talking to a minister. If he or she is on point, you will feel the energy. Some people call it the Holy Spirit. Some people call it Zen. Some people call it Buddha. Whatever it is, they are operating on a different wavelength, a different dynamic. Because of movies and mass media, we have turned it into entertainment. It is not entertainment. It is a life achievement. It is entertainment, if it's anything.
Beautiful.
In the 60s, when I first became introduced to martial arts, every dojo was a center of education. Every dojo was a center of knowledge. Every dojo was a center of raceness. If you were black, you knew why you were black, what happened to you. Didn't mean you hated people. Didn't mean you went into contests trying to hurt people, but you had a center of being. There was a swag about you that was different from other dojos. And I would notice that. You could always tell the quality and the spirituality of the dojo by its students. So when you see Grandmaster McCloud, I speak to him, I'm speaking to him spiritually.
Yes.
When I'm speaking to him like I'm speaking to the Minister Farrakhan. It's the same thing. We don't understand that. We've lost that, and we've got to get that back. Our kids are lost. They are lost because they haven't been given a core whole of principle. I was raised with a certain core. There are things you do and things you don't do. Not because you're afraid, but because you know that the retribution is not from man, it's from God. Now, how do you deal with that? Remember, all of this had to do with open-handed fighting and the monks and who were very spiritual. Most of this stuff comes from India. We know that now. Traveled to China, went to Japan. And now here we are in New York, the capital of the world, and we need this more than ever.
Yes.
Our children are going crazy, Grandmaster. Chicago, I just heard, they were just shooting into a crowd of people. They heard an 8-year-old child. They heard, this is madness. The only thing that can solve this, and it can be solved,
Yes.
if we're willing to sacrifice and put our faith on the line. The problem is we're holding on to life so desperately that we're losing.
And
you can't hold on to life like that.
Yes, you know, and you're mentioning that is so beautiful and so real. I just wanted to just mention that the life, you know, when we talk about that, holding on to life, and I also want to mention the part about masters and martial arts and so forth, but holding on to life is is a belief that you're holding on to something that you think is your life, yet our lives have been changed. So we're not truly holding on to the life that we should be holding on to. We're holding on to the life that has been given to us, has been imposed on us. I'll say it like that, you know.
Yes,
so you both of you, and I'll speak to both of you. You know, when we talk about master and mastery, you know, we talk about the martial arts, which is gathering and pulling the arts together to battle against someone, to protect one's self and ourself. We have to understand that it is a community, and that's why you're on here, because you're a master in my eyes, because you have been an activist and a fighter for freedom, justice, and equality. So in that, you put yourself on the line all the time. Grandmaster Bill puts himself on the line, teaching children and adults to help them save themselves. So, you know, I appreciate you, both of you, for being present, but I want you to know that you are a master, because if I ask you, how many years have you given, Brother Felipe, how many years have you given to defending the poor and the weak and our community?
50 years.
50 years.
I've been at this 50 years. Grandmaster knows this. Grandmaster McCloud, he knows this because he knows me from another life. Mm-hmm. You see, I had an energy force that was moving in another direction.
Yes.
It was not savory. It was not positive, and it wasn't inspirational. It was about me being afraid, basically. And when you're fearful, you lash out. We call it territory. We had our gangs, and I was in them, and I loved them. And because there was no family, the gang became my family.
Yes, sir.
Feel me? That's where it's at. When you go into, when the mosque started, and I was meeting Minister Farrakhan in 1969.
Come on.
And my brothers would come out of jail, and they had no family. And if they did, they were rejected. That was their family. And so when you saw them on the streets, you looked at them and there was a force. You know, in Qigong, there's a force that repels you before you even move toward the person.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. The force says, no, I don't think so. This is not a wise thing for you to do.
Yes.
It doesn't get mad at you. It says, I don't think you should try this. Well, it was 1959 and I was in the 6th grade. And the mosque had just started. They were getting their thing together. Malcolm was preaching and was killing them, man. He was killing them. And all that whole block, from 116, from Lenox to 7th Avenue, was dope fiends and dope dealers. Frank Lucas ran that whole territory.
Yes, sir.
American Gangster doesn't even begin to talk about what the mosque did on that block.
Mm.
So here's what the brothers did. And I heard them say this. Hey, Perry, what's up, man? Hey, man, they knew each other from the joint and all that. Man, you look good. They were dressed well. They had bow ties. Their necks were as thick as an elephant. So that's the first thing you notice. Physicality has a lot to do with how you approach things. Mm. So they would approach them, they grab their hands, And they said, look, man, it's come to our attention that you're doing some stuff, you know, and we're trying to do something spirit. This is a church over here across the street. They didn't call it a mosque, it's a church. So would you do us a favor and take that stuff a block away? Oh, okay. In other words, the humanity in them and the spirituality in the brothers made them move.
Come on.
And when I say they were making millions of dollars on that block, I'm telling you they were making millions of dollars. Frank Lucas was selling that stuff like crazy. Now, it changed. I remember the number hole and the dope hole when you went downstairs a little bit, and everybody knew what that was about. Everything changed. People thought it was impossible. That's why I say it takes one man, one movement to change your mind. And anybody who came there looking stupid, who tried loud, the brothers would just turn around and look at him. There was no need to say anything. The silence definitely. It was Chigan. It was like, oh, I'm in the wrong place, man.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
They said, we understand, brother. Can you move to the side? Absolutely. It was incredible, man. Then they had the restaurant, Salon Restaurant, where you came and you ate decently. And they were selling bean pies. It was an incredible experience for me as a Black Puerto Rican seeing this. And their hair was short, their hair was tight. They were selling Muhammad Speaks. It was wonderful, man. It made me understand that a guiding principle, and of course Moses Powell was teaching upstairs, a guiding principle will change the world. Brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, GM,
yes, sir.
Before I was talking about one of the things that happened in China, they had this thing called the Boxers' Rebellion. The Boxer Rebellion was about the boxers who was saying, the martial artists that was saying that, telling Britain that you can't sell that stuff here. You can't afflict us with that narrative that you're bringing here. Mm-hmm. And we are rebelling against that. So now a lot of things that we hear that is happening in our communities with the shooting and stuff is really our fault. Well, because we don't have the type of security that is necessary, because most of us already know, just like what you was expounding about, you know, who was doing this on the block, who was doing that on the block. We know who these people are who are doing this on the block. If you're from the community. Now, what Felipe was saying about how the brothers was then, you know, when the Muslim brothers was on the block, all the other stuff stopped. Right. Out of respect. Now, if you say that, they are, you know, there's such a conflict that happens as a result of there's no code anymore that we abide by for our community. We're allowing them to run rampant in our community. So men have to eventually start standing up. Martial artists has to start. We have to bring it back, as Felipe was saying, to what was before, where there was a code of ethics, morals, and character development.
Yes, sir. Listen, when Moses Powell moved down the street, everybody knew who he was. Puerto Ricans who didn't understand English knew who he was. When Puerto Ricans would go around the hunt test, you looking at the cop and talk in vulgarity, they would automatically stop as soon as they hit Lenox Avenue. Why is that? Because there was a core of spirituality on that block. It wasn't only that Moses could do a finger roll on you. It was that you could not act that way in this space.
Absolutely. That's right.
And out of that space came everybody. Absolutely. Ronnie Van Cleef, Abdul Muswir, my brother, Grandmaster. I mean, think about it. One man, it wasn't that he put fear, you admired it. You admired it. How does he do this? Now, I believe that the problem is that we haven't. I agree with you, Grandmaster. You hit it spot on. We have not put our lives on the line. No one respects the people unless you're willing to put your life on the line. Now, let me give you an example. There was a brother who was on 116th. A cop beat me up one time, beat me up bad in the church, looking to start a breakfast program. They put in undercover guys and they broke my arm in 2 places, busted my head out, slipping on my own blood. One of the Puerto Rican cops had jumped on a pew and rained down on him. I mean, boom. Why would he need to jump on a pew? They say the blood spurted up like this, like a geyser. I wanted to die. And by the way, if your audience is listening, never listen to the voice that says, come with me. Don't listen to that voice. Don't go for that white light. So I didn't. They arrested me to put me in. That same cop went to the mosque and tried some stuff in a building that the mosque had and didn't take off his shoes. Listen to me now. Didn't take off his shoes. And that's all they wrote. That boy's not alive. I'm not advocating murder. I'm saying when you believe in something, you believe it to the nth degree. And by the way, the mosque turned him in. Said, yes, he did do that. And he did his time gratefully. All I'm saying is imagine if we had that across the board. Imagine if we would walk on the South Side and say, and I've been there many times, and say to them young bloods, listen, man, I like your haircut. I like the way you move. I like your shoes, man. I like them sneakers. What I don't like is you smacking that girl in the face. I'm not having it. I don't mean to hate you, brother, but I wish you wouldn't do that anymore.
Right.
Or tell the brother who's dealing crack, look, heroin, look, man, you can go upstairs and do that, but you can't do that here on the street. The minister Muslims didn't tell the dope fiends they couldn't exist. They didn't tell the dope you go to another place and do that. You don't do that here. You go, and now every month, I'm telling you, I'm very close to the Puerto Rican, Dominican community, Colombian community. Whenever they pass the mosque, everything stops. I don't care what they're doing. There's a reverence, and that's the word, reverence for the spirituality of that. And there should be a reverence for dojos and every seafood and sensei that we have. You come up here, and I was in a mind fog this morning. I told GM, I'm in a mind fog. You know, all this energy around me. And all the people in Afghanistan were going through change. I feel that. I don't know why black people say you don't have to feel for those people. They white. That's ignorance. I feel for humanity. And I was in a mind fog. Now, GM made me feel embarrassed. I said, I'm hungry. He said, I eat only one meal a day. So that put me straight. Don't talk about food if this man only eats one meal a day.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
He is, for me, my role model. As tall as he is, as busy he is, he doesn't use his weight or his height to intimidate you. He doesn't do that.
Right.
We call it blissed out. And he believes in God. Let me tell you something. I don't care if you call him Allah. I don't care if you call him God. Whatever it is, you need a spiritual principle in your life.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And without that, you really have a problem. And the problem is that you think that man can help you. In the end, when you're up against the wall, when your wife left you or your kid did something wrong or whatever it is, you need something else.
Yes.
I know I drop to my knees regularly because I'm a fool. And I do stupid stuff. We'll call it being Puerto Rican. It don't make no sense. But I say to God, I'm sorry. I messed up. And inevitably, he says to me, people say, well, that's your mind. He says to me, don't be so hard on yourself. You're human. Try not to do that again. Simple as that.
Yes, sir.
And that's what this martial arts thing means to me. If we could find all of the cats, and by the way, it's a unifying concept too, because they're whites, blacks, Latinos, yeah, Filipinos, we're all involved. What if all the martial artists decided to change the way youth react or act in a city? What if the mosque in Chicago decided, I'll tell you what, we're all on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, we're going to be out. In fact, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, we're going to be out. Or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, where most of the stuff takes place. We're going to be out here. We're not asking, we're not telling you anything, but I don't think it'd be wise for you to do anything on that day. And they stand on the project, talk to the people, talk to the mothers, ask the old ladies, do you need help with the grocery store? Do you know what I'm saying? If they stood out there, not in geese, regular clothing, of course, you want to loosen up that if you have to kick, you can. But telling the brothers, look, this is the way it is. And this is the way it's going to be. Now, you can't do it for a day.
That's right.
See what I'm saying?
That's
you can't do it for a week. It's got to be a consistent part of our diet. And then you can tell them, once they see it, you tell them, here's what we do. And bring them into the dojo, and they see those kicks. I saw a brother in the Chicago group that I went to. I saw him throw a kick. He went in the air, came back down, fell on the floor, and still did a side kick. I said, damn, that's what they need to see. You don't need a gun. If you're a man, you don't need a gun. What you need is this, your mouth, your brain, and whatever martial arts you got. And I'm positive that Chicago will be changed.
Absolutely. I
Chicago, New York as well.
New York.
Yeah.
New York as well.
Well, we're talking about the country. Absolutely. I mean, you know, what happens is they give a lot of fanfare to Chicago and to other areas, you know, and then in some areas they're not giving, but they know what they're doing in terms of focusing from a media standpoint where they should introduce. So yes, it's not to say that things are not happening in Chicago. It is absolutely happening. And I agree with you, because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has established, or in fact, guided us and directed us to do what you're saying. And we have to do it even more and more. And he's called it the 10,000 fearless. He said that we need to establish 10,000 fearless men that will be able to go in between the brothers with guns, to go in our communities, to establish ourselves so that we can make sure. So no, we're not going with guns. You're absolutely correct. I'm only verifying and saying that what you're saying is correct. And he has introduced to us that, you know, when we go out, we're going out with the spirit of Almighty God, Allah. And with that, see, the brothers, even though they are showing a level of godlessness, God is in them.
Yes, he is.
Whenever they get exposed to the God that's in them, it will come out of them. And we are able and have been able to do things. We just have to increase our efforts so that we can do it in a major way. But it's not. So the minister has also told us that we have to get these churches and all of the others, because it's not about just, you know, it's not about just the Muslims. It is about our community, but we will help train and be out there in that kind of way to make that happen.
And you may have to train the ministers how to talk.
Yes,
because
sir.
I've seen Minister Farrakhan preach in the church. He knows the Bible better than the ministers.
Yes, sir.
So
yes,
I learned to read the Quran. And I have to know the Quran because a lot of my brothers are Muslim.
Yes, sir.
So I have to read those surahs with an understanding of where it was coming from. So now, what would happen, for example, if a few of the brothers started learning Spanish and telling some of these knuckleheads on the south side, oye me, déjate esa vaina, brother. Salam alaikum. It would blow their mind. First of all, Latinos are attuned. We already are predisposed to be Muslim because Spain was conquered by Islam for 750 years, Grandmaster Anthony.
Yes, sir.
750 years. And after they threw the Jews and the blacks out, the Moors, Spain never recovered. All they've contributed to the world is Pablo Picasso. Think about it.
Yes,
I mean, it's serious. Now, what we have to do is get brothers to change the method of thinking.
Yes.
Because if they become fathers, if they become big brothers, if they become that, you have to be it though. That's what martial arts does for you. Martial arts makes you, when you walk the streets, you feel whole. You feel, ain't too much I'm afraid of.
I think what you're saying in terms of mind changing is a key point, because you have to have pillars of a mental foundation that you're standing on. And one of the things that we teach here is character, integrity, morality, humility, discipline, respect, and courtesy. These are the things that is lost in the community now, because there's everything. We're talking about bad character. People who are shooting, we're talking, these are bad characters. So the character of these individuals has to be corrected. We have to have these programs inside of the school that our dojos that keep expounding instead of giving belts and all these things. If your character is not exemplary, you know, I'm not putting no belt on you. You know, I'm not making you this because he represents Grandmaster Anthony. He represents myself. He represents whoever it is that you come from. A lot of these guys now, it's all about ego. When you go to tournaments, it's like egos. I remember watching Lil Jon knock out out in Springfield, out in Queens, knocked out somebody else's students because he was disrespectful to the call that he was making when he was being the judge.
That's right.
You know, so now you can't discipline another family's child. When we came up, everybody, your mother would whip my behind, my mother would whip your behind. Yes. You know, now it's like they are running rampant because they don't have a moral, ethical foundation for their development. And this media that they listen to daily with the technology it's poisoning. It's like it's the new drug. Yes, it is. It's the new drug.
TikTok.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Let me ask this question. It was mentioned dojos and they are mosques, as Felipe said. You know, they are church. There's a concept, of course. I remember the Tong Dojo. You know what I'm saying? You know, when you're talking about Tong Dojo, you're talking about all of these. You had Grandmaster Cofield, you had, you know, Doc, you had yes.
La Puppet.
Yeah, La Puppet, absolutely. Coming up out of there. So but they, you know, you looked at them. I remember as a child, you know, coming through this, I looked at those schools and they meant something to me. Now, I wasn't a part of the Tong Dojo, but the Tong Dojo had a rep. And you know, schools had a rep. Now, you know, it's gotten to the financial focus is financial and not the individual as it used to be. See, once upon a time, it was the individual. So I wanted to ask the question, how do you see us actually touching the other dojos to bring them into a way of thinking that turns them into I don't want to say that old way because it's not really an old way if it's a good way. You know what I'm saying? But to present to them something that is more powerful than money, not to say that you're not looking for it, but I want to introduce that idea and see what you all have to say about that.
Grandmaster, you know, the climate of this time that we are presently living in, it demands that to happen for our survival. Amen. Because we can, but it's not affordable for us to be separate anymore. You know, we're in a different time. There was a time when you could be an individual, and in the creative process that we live in and under, there's no such a thing as an individual. Everything is interdependent on something else for its survival. We have to have an understanding of that. We have to know how to depict that. We have to know how to teach that. We have to know how to say that. And your welfare, my welfare, and his welfare is connected.
Yes, sir. That's right.
You know, collectively, all over. There's no statistics. There's no my school, your school. It's one. We are one people. Just like we all got two arms and two legs, and they go a certain way. We call them all different types of names. We call them this system, that system, but they're still two arms and legs doing the stuff that they're doing. But this political climate is choking the hell out of us. It's killing us. It's demanding that somehow or another, and I don't have the formula, if it have to be a collective type of think tank that we come together to put together to figure out what kind of code collectively we can stand on for our survival in this time. We can't do a lot of the things that was done when Felipe came along with the Young Lords and the Panthers. We can't do that at this time. This is a different time. It's a different psychology. So we have to construct something new for our collective survival.
And you don't want to know something? That's a very good point. Very good point. Kids now are not interested in what you say, but who you are.
Yes.
They'll watch you. You'll be talking a lot. They'll watch you. Who are you? After the service is over, after the class is over, they watch how you move on these streets. And if you move in contradiction to what you said,
come on,
the contradiction, the hypocrisy of that turns them into it. They'll never tell you this. They'll smile in your face, but they will know you are a hypocrite, you're a liar, and I don't want to follow you. So the way to get the collective union that Grandmaster McCloud is talking about is for the dojo that starts, and it starts with the majority of one. One person who embodies spirituality. He embodies Jesus. He embodies the Prophet Muhammad, blessed be upon his name. He embodies Buddha. He embodies when we walk, and then let him and several others go. Let me tell you something. I was in gangs for a large part of my adolescent life. And when you put together blacks, Puerto Ricans, and Italians in one gang, and you went to visit another gang and said, I don't think we're going to do this anymore, there was no way that gang was going to say no.
Right.
They couldn't divide us. We knew who we were. It was deep. He knows my cousin. My cousin was part of a group called the Canarsie Chaplains. The Canarsie Chaplains here in Brooklyn controlled every housing project in Brooklyn. Everyone. Jefferson Avenue, Breedport, Canarsie. I mean, it was deep. And there were Puerto Ricans in it. Now, we had just come to the country. And a lot of us were fair-skinned, though most of the black Puerto Ricans stayed here. Fair-skinned. But what happens? If you're surrounded by enemies, and they were surrounded by the mafia, you had to stick together. There was no way somebody from Beaufort, South Carolina was going to say, I don't want that Puerto Rican in my house. We learned to cook together. So brothers learned how to eat rice and beans and pollo, and you know what I'm saying? They learned, of course, a lot of Muslim brothers couldn't do because they didn't eat pork. But my mother will cook differently for them.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I learned Black history through them. My history comes not from Northern blacks, it comes from Southern blacks, the Geechees, the Gullas that I grew up with. Chicago has Delta blacks. That's a whole different ballgame.
Yes, sir. Very
different ballgame. And you gotta handle them a very different way because they went through hell. Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, you're talking about real deep down racism. And so the way you talk to them has to be different. You can't come to them with North Carolina's HBC, Higher Black Institute of Black Learning. They don't want to hear that stuff.
That's right.
They ain't to cutting people to the white meat. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
and so you got to come to them from another perspective. Martial artist who walks into that community has to be about that community. Fred Hampton was like that. And it's unfortunate that Fred Hampton, who was part of the Panthers, was murdered because he was stopping a lot of that stuff. And so you can't tell me that one man can't do it. He went up to the disciples. Understand, the disciples were a powerful gang in Chicago. And the Peace Stone Nation. They owned barbershops, gas stations, bodegas. They owned all of it. And he said, look, why don't we get together, try to form a union with revolutionaries? They had to kill him because they were coming. They were joining his cause. What if Chicago brothers, and what if we decided to go there? If we know who they are, it's not like we don't know them.
Mm-hmm.
I know Papa, I know Bebe, I know all of them.
That's right.
So if I'm coming and there are a few guys behind me, I don't have to turn in and say, man, I don't think it, why don't we stop? First of all, to go to the dojos, speak to the senseis. And if they come off with an ego, if we exude humility, they can't scream at us.
Yes.
If the guy said, I don't want to be part of it, what's in it for me? There's nothing. Well, what's in it for you is you're saving lives.
Yes.
Saving lives.
Yes.
You're saving your kids' lives. If he still doesn't want to do it, he wants to be Frank Ruiz about it. Shake his hand, say thank you very much. God bless you. The best of luck to you anytime you need us. Don't get mad at him. He's ignorant.
Yes.
We get mad at people because their ignorance is ignorance. It takes time for them to get it together. But once he sees changes on his block, once he sees Sensei standing there changing people's lives, he will want to be part of anything that's successful. And that's all I'm saying. If me, Grandmaster, and a few others that we know, the guy at Snedeker Avenue, what's his name? Snedeker Avenue. What's his name? He was in Chicago. I can't remember his name. He's in Brooklyn. But a few of us will get together and say, look, let's go visit some dojos and let's sit down and talk about what we can do.
Yes.
Before we make a public statement or a public action, we all sit. People need to see The Godfather again. They need to look at that movie seriously.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He sits around, he says, nobody, family, never talk about the family, never let other people know what you're thinking. It's a great lesson, man. I have my children look at it every year. They say, oh, hey, daddy goes again with his nonsense.
Yes,
but
sir.
it's true, man. Now, their thing was money. But at one point, the Don said, I don't like this stuff. It turns the community around. If people know we're dealing with this stuff, it was wonderful the way he said it. Yeah. Unfortunately, he couldn't. They tried to kill him. And let me end with this. Grandmaster, if you do this in Chicago, I can assure you that the police will be on you. Don't you know they don't want you to do this?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's right.
They're making money from no projects. They're making money from this doujin. So I'm saying that same thing will happen to us. Yeah. When Muslims went into, Black Muslims went into the Red Hook projects several years ago, 10 years ago, they cleaned it up in 5 days. 5 days. It was over. You know what the liberal community said? They're brainwashing our kids.
Look at that. That's right.
And they got Puerto Ricans and blacks to believe them. And they had to leave. The cops came to you have to leave. Now, you know, you don't fight the police, but damn, they cleaned it up.
Yes, yes.
We have to say we want success. So there's going to be resistance. There will be resistance. They'll try to bust you for some crazy stuff. Some woman will say you touched her. Some guy will say you touched him. They'll say they'll think of some co-optation, or they'll come to you with a bunch of money. Grandmaster Anthony, you've done a fantastic job. You're so good. You're a good guy. We'd like to give you, let me think about it, $10 million. How's that?
Uh-huh.
We'd like to give you $10 million. You can start a center, and then you can take your guys off the street and bring them into a nice place. That's how it starts. And before you know it, you in a $10 million place, an ice palace, isolated from everything, and the stuff goes right back into the way it was.
That's right. That's right.
You know, Grandmaster, Felipe and I history go way back, and this connects him and I seen martial arts evolve at a time. We didn't know exactly what to call it, but the unity and camaraderie of these brothers, when we was there watching this happen, it revolutionized what went on inside the penal institutions. We were standing there watching, we said, oh my God, they're gonna kill them. They came, the guy ran the right thing. The guys came up with big tree trunks. And the brother was in there making a salat at the time. And the officer was telling them, get up from there and go lock in. Brother said, when he's finished praying, it was 6 of them, 5 of them stood around and watched him, wait to him. I get emotional when I talk about it. Wait for him to finish praying. Lord's God.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We were standing watching this. Yes, sir. We was watching it. Oh my God, they're gonna kill them. They're gonna kill them. They came in and ran in there. We didn't know what kind of fight it, because like he said, we come out we come out of the street games and stuff, right? We had a different type of fight. We didn't know what kind of fight this was they was doing. You know, they was a loud watch bar and doing kicking and punching and keying and screaming and taking their weapons and beating the heck out of them with their own stuff.
Mm.
We was like, whatever it is that you're talking about, we interested.
He was in the same jail that I was in.
Yes.
Around the same time.
Yes, sir.
It was called the House of Pain, 275 Atlantic Avenue.
Yes.
Now, I wasn't as tall as Grandmaster. I was just not well in the brain. I was crazy.
Yes.
So I'll never forget it. There were 5 guys, they called them the Harlem Six. You remember them?
Absolutely.
And they came in and they were with the 5%ers they were not Muslims, but they had been heavily influenced by Muslims.
Yes.
The 5%ers, and they were incredibly disciplined. We had never seen anything like this before. They would eat together, talk together, and you couldn't go against one unless you went against all. You get a fair one if it was a fair one. If you came collectively, you got hurt. What happened? We had weekly sessions. I would always be talking about we can't hate people, we can't. And they would say, there he goes again. There's Felipe with his Christian stuff. You know, the white man is rules your mind, brother. And remember, in those days, we were talking about technology. That was the way it was. Yaku and technology. Remember that? Yes, absolutely. So I said, how can the white Yaku have been born 66 billion? Y'all are crazy. Those numbers don't even compute. And they say, you see what I mean? They got them messed up. Jesus was black. I thought I would die. How can you say that? Jesus was black. Moses was black. All the prophets were black. They kept on hitting me with this. When I came out, I was teaching that to kids. So I came out fully imbued with a sense of blackness. Now, let me tell you why this works. Puerto Ricans still have a problem with blackness. Latinos have a problem with black. It's colorism, and it was done by the Spaniards.
Yes.
So, and by the way, we can't say that black people don't have it because it was just recently that Ebony put on black models on their covers. There's a long time we didn't see black women on the covers. They were very fair, very light skinned. You know the deal.
That's right.
Now, and you didn't want to marry a black woman if you were moving up in the world. If you were a black man, a black businessman, you didn't want to marry a black woman. So now, one of them, Malik, his name was, he used to like me a lot. He was the best fighter in the group. He was short, peanut head, absolutely the best fighter in the group, Malik. And Malik used to tell me, we used to argue all the time. And as the brothers would get mad because I was making points, he would say, no, don't get on him. He's got his knowledge, I got my knowledge. I'm beating him at it. And Malik, who was not educated and not well-spoken, would just say things that would grab your heart. You know what I mean? I knew I was articulate, but he was saying stuff that was grabbing my heart. Here's how he proved to me the Muslim that he was. Now I'm gonna get this. Puerto Rican boy came in, they had broken every bone in his body. Every bone. You could see the eye sockets all messed up. You could see his jaw was out, his teeth were out. And they threw him on the tile floor. We had tile floor in those days. They threw him on the tile and left him there. It's the 8th floor, 275 Atlantic Avenue. He was moaning. The moans were so pitiful that, I mean, we just stood there. We didn't know what to do. Malik got up and told one of his minions, give me some sheets. Rip them up if you have to. And give me some hot water and salt. And Malik went over to this boy, cradled him in his arms. This is the same man who said Puerto Ricans got the devil's blood in them. He used to tell me, Puerto Ricans got the devil. That's why we can't trust none of y'all. He took that boy in his arms, tried to press the eye socket back in, kept on talking to him soothingly. All of a sudden, all of the bombacity, all of the verbosity, all of the craziness, the loudness stopped, and he became a human being. He went into the guy's mouth, Grandmaster Anthony, and went and touched the bloody parts. And he kept on hugging him and said, "You're all right, man. You with us now." For the next week, nobody said anything about any politics, any Muslim, nothing. It was just a human place that he took care of that boy. He took care of him. That's when I learned that Christianity does not have a monopoly on love. That Muslim brother took care of him. When he got better, he would walk with us. I mean, he was really beaten up. He would go up to Malik and go like this. He would nod to him like this, and Malik would just nod and then go on like this. Here's the thing about it, he wouldn't hang out with his brothers. He went to the Puerto Rican gang. It's okay, Malik said he's got a right to be where he wants to be. Right. I would have gone with the brothers, but that's the way it is. And that kid was, I'll never forget that. That for me is an example, Grandmaster, of what humanity is.
Beautiful.
You know what I'm saying? That's humanity.
Beautiful. Shoot, I had to just keep myself from getting too emotional myself because I understand it, you know, and that's beautiful. Let me move to Doc for a moment. I want to know when did you get acquainted to Dr. Moses Powell, Musa Muhammad?
Are you serious?
Yes, sir.
Everybody in New York knew him.
Yes.
The dope dealers knew him. The prostitutes knew him. The Puerto Ricans knew him. Frank Ruiz knew him from Niseko Jew. Taganashi, Chaka Zulu, Ronnie Van Cleef, name them. Ronnie studied under him.
Yes.
The problem that we had is that his style was so Shotokan-ish, it was tank. It was like straight up. When he flipped you, you knew you were flipped. But I used to go just watch. I couldn't believe the stuff that he did. How do you do that? How do you do a one finger roll? You explain that to me.
Very carefully.
Very carefully. And for more than that, he was not someone, he didn't suffer fools lightly. The problem became that of self-perception. You got to be careful. Nisei Goju poisoned our system. Do you know about Nisei Goju?
I'm familiar, yes, sir. Nisei Goju.
We had a guy here, Puerto Rican named Frank Ruiz.
Yes.
He trained most of these guys. He trained Louis Delgado. He trained Taganashi. Have you ever heard of Taganashi?
Absolutely.
All right. Chaka Zulu.
Yes.
Owen Watson. All these guys. Rodan.
Afraid of. Yes.
All of them are dead. With the exception of Ronnie, who I speak to every week. And the poison of that, it almost made me leave, it almost made me just get away from martial arts. Because Frank Ruiz would tell him, if you lose the match, let the guy who won know that he lost really. Do something, break a finger, break an eye, do something. It's not good. The judging in those days was horrible, remember? You knew the guy won, but he lost by a point. It was ridiculous. Yeah, man, it was real bad. The way I got into it is by seeing some of the finer artists. I saw Abdul Muswi.
Yes.
Blessing be upon his name. He was just a wonderful man. I'm still suffering over that one. He 30 years ago moved into Tai Chi Chuan. And we all thought he was crazy because we all went to the hard style, right? Everything was, he said, I don't want to go to the hospital. I don't want to go to the hospital. All of us have knee problems, hip problems. He had none of that. What I don't understand is how he died. How did you die that fast when you're that healthy? I don't know. God took him when he had to take him. But even though Nisei Goju had ruined, and we had people used to talk, they used to talk about Cofield. They used to talk about Little Willie, Little Papa John. They used to talk about Little John. John actually saved the woman's life in Harlem and beat the guy up. Do you know they talked about him? The cop, they put in the paper that he was a vigilante. What? This is the way it was, man. This is the way it was. I got into it by looking at the people who had style and grace. Peter Urban was one of them. Peter Urban was a Polish guy who drank a lot, but brother, he was the finest Goju man I've ever seen. He was great. I also, even though Taganashi was in Goju, I used to watch him. Did you ever see his cat style? He would, the hiss that he would exhale was scary to me. Just the hiss. I saw Ronnie Van Cleef when he was crazy because he liked knocking people out.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And they controlled all of the stuff on 8th Street, which was the hippie place. They controlled that. Ronnie eventually changed. I don't know what changed him. I hope it was God. He had a bout with some sickness, but he told me it changed. It changed, and he has changed. Also, I had two guys next to me. Huey Escamberlin, who did Fujao Pai, which is Tiger Claw, and another guy named Pi Diaz, who also did Fujapa. I saw the beauty of floor styles. I saw circular rather than linear. And I began to appreciate the arts more. And that's how I got into it. That's how I got into you guys.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Awesome. And in terms of you know, you're still, I mean, you're an activist right now, and I'm a novice at this, you know, this aspect of doing this, and I'm talking to a professional interviewer, you know, and I appreciate you, and I want you to just kind of share a little bit about you as a radio personality.
Can I say one thing before he answers that?
Please.
So before, one of the things, talents that Felipe has, I don't know if anybody used to hear him sing. We used to have Felipe sing Maria.
Yes.
He used
You remember that?
He used to kill it. Yo, Felipe, hit Maria.
You know we're gonna have to get it before we leave now.
Yo,
No.
He would blow the joint up. Hit Maria.
And let me tell you something, great man. I'm glad you brought that up. I put that in my book. Do you know that these brothers wanted to hear the simplest of songs? I would sing Getting to Know You, Getting to Know All About You.
Yes.
I would sing faith songs. Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow? These guys were kids. They were kids, and they wanted to hear kid stuff. They acted tough. They were all numbers. That's all it was. And that's right. One day, the guy who ran the theater, a guy named Diablo, I used to sing Moon River by Andy Williams. And I waited until they all went to sleep. One day, I just didn't feel like singing. You know, colored people get ornery sometimes. I just didn't want to do it. Right. And I hear from the back of the chair, Felipe, sing the song. Because I don't feel like singing it. And I hear Diablo's voice boom over the cacophony of sound. I said, nigga, sing the song. Put these boys to sleep, or I will see you tomorrow morning. I sang that song for an hour and a half. But you know what? They protected me.
Yes.
They said to me, I couldn't understand this. You're not like us. You got a glow about you. I said, but you got a glow. No. We bad kids, man. That's the inferiority feeling that white folks have put in us.
Yes.
We are nothing. We're nothing.
Yes.
They would say, you have a glow. And they took care of me from the time I left to Elmira prison, to Kaksaki, back. I still consider them some of my best friends.
Yes.
Carl Riley, who's around here somewhere, did a bid for nothing. Yeah. The judge said, 3 of you have to do time. We kill one guy, 3 of you have to do time. We let the others go. And Carl said, nobody wanted to take the cudgel up. My cousin didn't, and he was part of it. But Carl said, I'll do it with you, man. Can you imagine that, man? Okay. I said, but Carl, you didn't even touch the guy. He said, it's all right. It's all right. I helped in the murder because I was there. And he did 3 years with me. I mean, it's unbelievable. That's the kind of brotherhood that I'm used to.
And this is before he was Aikido, Carl.
Yes.
He became famous with the Aikido.
Yeah, he's incredible.
Incredible.
You couldn't touch him in the projects.
Yeah.
When you threw something, he would just shift. I don't know how he did it. He was like Benitez. He would just go like this, the torque, you know? Mm-hmm. And your arm would go out of socket. He already knew the principles of martial arts before he got into Aikido.
Absolutely.
Man. He's a wonderful man. He's still, I'm with him to this day. He's my brother. And this guy became famous. Understand what you two have done. You're saying that you don't know how to do things. You have an organization. You have a dojo, a successful one. He has a dojo. You got to see this place. This is beautiful here.
Beautiful.
It's long, and everybody else is closing up shop, and he still has his thing going.
Yes.
That says he has a blessing a financial blessing,
Yes.
a metaphysical blessing, a martial arts blessing, but a human blessing. That's why this is, and it's totally supplied. You got weights, you got the punching bag, everything you want is here. And peace. You don't feel war when you come up here.
Man, it's
For the
it
question,
looks tranquil. Sir?
What was the question you asked?
Man,
I
y'all
get involved in it. I saw people who were beautiful.
This is what we call sticking and moving, because we just flowing. But I was asking about the personality, the radio personality. I want to hear you talk a little bit about that. How did you get into that? Why did you get into it? I'm pretty sure I have some knowledge of it, but I want you to share with the audience what made you get into it, how long you've been in it, and what is it that keeps you inspired to stay on radio or as a personality there?
Well, first of all, I was raised in a Pentecostal church. When you're raised in the Pentecostal church, all you hear is preaching. All you hear is rhetoric. You hear stuff from the Bible. And you see these charismatic preachers jump up there and have these sisters going. So you learn a little bit of it as showmanship, but you better be substantive. You better say something. I grew up under the period of Malcolm X, who was so charismatic that you would sit there and just be mesmerized by him. Mesmerized. I grew up in the period of Martin Luther King, one of the greatest orators this country has ever produced. And so you sit there, Rap Brown, who just with humor would make you fall on the floor, laughing. So I knew that I was never a gang leader. I was never an activist of any note, but I had what I call righteous indignation. When I would get mad, I would jump in somebody's face and tell them off. I wasn't afraid. It started in Queens College when I came out of jail, because I didn't jump bad in jail because I'd have to fight too many people. I came out and I realized the war in Vietnam gelled my interest, it gelled my mind, it codified me, it made me focus on what was right and what was wrong. I knew that war was a lie. They had a Gulf of Tonkin resolution that said that the North Vietnamese had fired on them, and that wasn't true. So we ended up losing 58,000 men and women, American boys and girls, in that war because of that lie. I saw Kennedy. I saw Robert Kennedy. I saw John Kennedy. But mainly it was Malcolm. I was afraid of Malcolm. We would go up and we would say, man, that Negro's crazy. He's saying things like, white man this and white man, is he crazy? We were so brainwashed. Everything he said then is doubly true today.
Yes.
Doubly true today.
Yes.
So I would listen and I would watch their styles. And then I said, well, I went to college after jail. And in college, they were having these series of lectures and about what was right and what was wrong about the Vietnam War. And they had shot him. Something changed in me when they shot Martin. He was like a good uncle. You know, the uncle always comes, how you doing, baby? The bishop, you know, he's a nice guy. When they shot him, I said, all bets are off. Now I realize that it doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you take, you're threatening the system. And that's why I tell people, when you start arguing between Black folk, when they start arguing against each other, I don't like, shut up. You are all in this. They hate all of us, metaphorically hate. Malcolm and Martin are dead because they both espoused and uncovered the contradictions of a capitalist system. Having said that, I started speaking about it on campus. And the white guys, the liberals, pushed me in front because they were afraid of the Italians, who were the conservatives, unfortunately. And they were afraid of the Italians. I grew up with Italians. I ain't afraid of them. I grew up with them. Hey, Vito. Hey, Carmine. Why are you talking like that? Shut up, man. And so I was that kind of a guy. Hey, Filippo, don't come with your nonsense, man. You come with that communist. And I would argue with them until I became the radical speaker on campus. From there, I taught a course on Black history in the college. And I had just come out of jail. Also, I was with the last poets. Brother, if you don't know how to speak when you're with the last poets, you might as well pack up your bags and go home.
Man.
Before all this nonsense, monster, before all this gangster rap, we were already doing it. But we were doing it in a political way. I was the first Puerto Rican to be brought into this group. And it may seem trivial, but for a long time, we were apart. A long time. This time, we were together. And it's like me and Grandmaster. Nobody can tell me about Grandmaster. I wish a Puerto Rican would come up to me and tell me about Grandmaster. It'd be over. That is, when two spirits merge, it's another dynamic. So I came out like that. From the last poet, you can't do poetry, Grandmaster, unless you're willing to back the words up.
Yes.
Amir Barak said the poems have to be bullets. So I went from that to I had Rap Brown. I used to teach a political workshop at the East Wing, which is the headquarters of the last poets. Who came? Stokely came. Rap Brown came. All of the Panthers came. A lot of the Muslims came. And I would just talk about what I read. Nobody knew that Mali, I was amazed by it. No, Mali is the beginning of all civilization. Sudan, man. Where are we getting this from? That we were nothing. The DNA doesn't lie, Papa. The DNA is here.
Come on.
We are kings and we don't know it, man. It really bothers me when I go and talk to people. Oh man, we ain't nothing. What, are you kidding me? Those pyramids were built by black men. All of the knowledge of Greece comes from Mali. They will come all the way from Greece, sail, and go back to Greece. And even the Greeks admitted it. Herodotus, Pythagoras, Plato, they all admitted it was the Romans who came, it was the Italians, who came, I don't need to put them down, and denied the culture, so that we got whitewashed. But the truth is when you look at the history of the world, how is it that we can keep on saying Columbus discovered America? Mali sent 2,000 ships here. Columbus said he saw a black man when he came here. He saw him. He saw gold-tipped spears. Where does it come from? So when you see the truth, when you read the truth, it imbues you with a sense of righteous indignation. That's what I was trying to get at. That righteous indignation flows out of you. Can't stop it. And even if you stumble on your words, people know that what you're saying is the truth. And I can back it up with academia. I can back it up with books. My library is half of this wall. So I believe in that. And people have tended to believe in me because I believe in that. I believe in myself. And I think God has us here for a purpose, Grandmaster.
Yes.
I am nothing without him. I'm nothing.
Man.
And I'm nothing without this brother. This is my brother. I call him Papa sometimes because he has the wisdom of an old man. And so when you say, how did I start? What happens is I joined the Young Lords, and I don't think they were ready for it. You know what I'm saying? They weren't used to come out to Japanese stuff. That's right. They weren't used to it. They were used to, liberal, Yankee go home, he got upset. I said, no, it ain't gonna work that way. You gotta confront. They said, you mean like stand up to them? I said, what are you talking about? They weren't into it. Puerto Ricans were not into confrontation, which is a problem that we had. I come out of my Buford, I grew up with people from the South, man. And their thing is, excuse me? I remember one brother used to come up from the South. He used to be on 116th Street and Lenox Avenue. And he used to sell watermelons and peanuts in a little truck. And clams too. And he used to sometimes be on 116th Street, sometimes be on 112th Street, sometimes be on 14th Street. But he was such a nice and humble man. He was a Geechee. I didn't know anything about him. And the young punks, Northern, would constantly bother him, try to take his money. He said, listen, y'all, let it go, man. Let it go. You don't need a daddy, is what you need. And they would bother him. He said, one guy kept on bothering him. This is how you begin to see reality. He said, I'm going to lose my salvation. I didn't know what he meant. He said, you're going to mess with me to the point where I'm going to cut you to the white meat. I'd never heard that saying before. He had a peach knife. I don't know if you remember this. In the South, they had these long knives. They were like razor blades. And you cut the fruit open and stuff. And 3 of them came out of him. And I saw the swallow style. I never seen a swallow style before. Just one like this. He kept on talking. He went like this. He said, what do you want? Cut him to the white meat, brother. Cut that boy to the white meat. The boy said, man, you cut me. He said, I told you 4 times. I don't bother you, boy. I don't come and take your money. In fact, I've given you free watermelon. Why do you want to mess with me? Cut him to the white meat. To see a very dark man open, like the whole thing open, man, we respected him from then on. The point that I'm trying to make is, I have learned just by watching people. And I saw that there was a need for people to talk about these things. Righteous indignation makes me confront people. And I don't care who they are, mayors, presidents, I confront them. Police, the police just get mad. What? He's a man like you. Remember that scene in Malcolm, the movie, where the cops come and they say to the right, they go like this, and they turn them.
Yes.
Even the police respect discipline, order, and humility.
Yes.
Even they, you gotta admit it. So I began to speak, and I went into the young lords, and it's not so much me as God in me. I believe, now the problem is, I'll be honest with you, there's a little, I like war a little bit. I do like war a little bit. I don't mind fighting. It's insecurity. I went to the psychiatry, they said, the problem with you is you're short. And so you're fearful, it's true. I fear most, when I'm fighting, I'm fearful most of the time. But the worst guy to fight is someone who's afraid to die. See what I'm saying? So I got into that and I started speaking. And then they put me on radio. What was that for? It was made for me. It was made for me. I went on WRVR, used to be a jazz station here. I went from the Young Lords, speaking and gathering and organizing. We took over the church. We took over Lincoln Hospital. We did things. We made things happen. And so I began to develop a rep as an organizer. Then, Frankie Crocker, after I got thrown off the radio, I was on RVR, I had a Latin Roots program. I got thrown off the radio for saying, "Viva Puerto Rico Libre," because I believe in Puerto Rico being an independent nation. They threw me off the air. The Big Bop of Frankie Crocker, I don't know if you know who he is.
Yes, sir.
I admired him so much. He came to me, I'd like you to work for me. He said, but you can't do Latin music. I said, then I won't be there. He said, I'll let you do a few. He taught me so much, Grandmaster. He taught me how to program, how to speak well. He always spoke well, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Yes.
He breathed through his nose. You never heard him breathe. These are techniques he had. He said, the problem with you Puerto Ricans is you want to be accepted by everybody. So you jump at everybody. Don't be a lapdog, man. Let them come to you. And there would be a line on WBS from the DJ booth all the way down the stairs for people who wanted to give him records and whatever else they had so that he would play their records. But they needed him, and BLS was alive as long as he was there. And I learned a lot from him. When they fired him, I was real upset. Yeah. Then I went from there to television. And it was an easy move, man. Easy move. Because you know how Puerto Rican, we speak with our hands anyway. So it was easy for me. And I won 2 Emmys, man. I won 2 Emmy Awards.
Yeah.
So I did what God has been doing. Now I'm retired. I don't know what to do with myself. I'm serious. I get depressed. I thank God for Grandmaster McCloud calling me. How you doing, brother? I get depressed. What am I going to do? God, what do you want me to do? I'm asking God to give me a mission. Some people say I should come to Chicago.
Man.
But I would need a lot of support, and I would need to go around. I'd have to talk to the minister because it's his territory too, and we'd have to go there and organize. And I spoke to some of the gang members there already. They know who I am, but we need to talk to them.
Yes, sir.
To get back to our point, if we can get all of the martial artists together, Grandmaster Anthony, all of us together. I'm not a Sifu. I'm not a sensei. I follow him. This is my mentor. But if we can get everybody together.
But you are a sensei.
I know what you're saying, metaphorically, yes. But these kids, when they look at you, they're not, man, you better be able to kick, you better be able to show them what to do. What am I going to do? Don't flip wrist? I mean, what?
Don't worry. Like it said, all you need is somebody right there next to you.
Yeah, right there. I wouldn't do it without him. But I have seen what can happen when an alpha male walks into a stage or walks into a group. I've seen what happens. People, sit back. I've seen what it does. And all I'm asking is all of us, and this has been his dream for a long time, for all of us to get together here in New York, bring them all here like in The Godfather, they put them around that Appalachian, put them around the table. And they said, the Genovese, the Bonanos, the Columbus, all of us, we all need a piece of the action. That's the way it should be, Bob. That's the way it should be.
I'm so, listen, let me just say that I'm so grateful and proud of you and both of you. I mean, that's my brother and you're my brother as well. And I will pass on the greetings so that the minister can know that you extended them to him. But I just want you to know that I'm very happy to have had you on the show. I pray that you feel and felt comfortable. And I look forward to you again at some point to come on if you would allow that to happen at some point.
Well, first of all, this is the man you have to thank.
Yes, indeed.
If he calls me on a Monday at 4 o'clock in the morning and says, get up out of bed, you got to go to Brooklyn. This is the mafia, man. So you do what the capo says. He's the capo de tutti.
Okay, Bill. Okay, I will call you Bill.
You do what he says. You know? And you never talk about the family. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's right.
Tell the minister that if he asks me to go over there, I'd love to talk to him about some plans I have to. Whatever he needs, I'll be there. And I just want to bring my brother with me.
Yes, sir.
I'd love to talk to him.
Absolutely.
He already know that's my brother.
No.
Yeah. Anytime. I think Chicago needs a special kind of organization because y'all are the most segregated city in the world. I've never seen anything like it.
Mm.
I've never seen anything like it.
Yes, sir.
They talk to each other, hello, goodbye, but white is white, black is black, Puerto Rican is Puerto Rican. What are you talking about? Here, one of the things I love about New York is it's all together. They got some areas of the Puerto Rican, some areas of the black like home, but that's rapidly changing now.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's a whole different ballgame.
Big time.
White folks want their buildings back. Be that as it may, Grandmaster, thank you for giving us this opportunity. Thank you, and thank you, Grandmaster.
Thank you. Thank you both, man. Love you both. And
this is a world of history that needs to be spoken of.
Yes.
When it's not around anymore, if we don't tell the story of who Felipe Luciano is going to be, was, then they get lost in the sauce.
And you have to keep on talking about it.
Yes.
Well, tell this Puerto Rican.
¿Qué pasa, bro?
See what I'm saying? I knew you were Puerto Rican, brother.
Let me say this. You know,
you got all your teeth, which means you won most of your fights. That's wonderful, man.
You know, I had in Muhammad University. See, I went to school at Muhammad University right there at the mosque in New York.
Oh, really?
Yes. So that's my growth. That's where I grew up. But we studied some Spanish, and I maybe this will make some sense. En el nombre de Allah que vino la persona de Maestro Farad Muhammad, en el nombre de su último mensajero, Elías Muhammad, les saludo otra vez. Assalamu alaikum.
I never knew that.
You better shut up. I didn't know that. How come y'all don't have a mosque in Puerto Rico, man?
we do. We have some things that are around in Mexico as well. But we'll talk some more. We'll talk some more. Definitely need your assistance.
All right, brother. Peace and love.
Love both of you. And family, listen, all of you that are watching, man, I know you enjoyed yourself. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and so that you can always be able to know when this kind of wonderful information is happening, man. These are two giants that are in front of me, and I appreciate their presence, and you need to make sure that you continue to watch. Thank you.
When y'all come to New York,
759 Washington Avenue.
this is the man you have to see. This is the dojo you have to come to. I don't care about Tiger, Kim, Tiger, whoever it is. Come over here to the Martial Arts Academy with Grandmaster Bill McCloud. You're going to love it. He'll teach you. He won't hurt you either.
All right. And in fact, could you give me the address again so that we can all know where it is and the number?
759 Washington Avenue. There are
All
good
right.
restaurants around here. You can park around here. And by the way, it's gotten to a point where you can walk from the subway here. Nobody's going to bother you.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So it's no problem.
And what is the telephone number, Grandmaster Bill?
718-210-3190.
All right. All right.
718-210-3190.
And you all, as you all see that is going to come across the bottom right there, and you'll be able to note that. And make sure, listen, if you're in Jersey, even if as far as Philly, if you can make your way to New York, you got to stop on in.
Yes, sir.
To Grandmaster Bill McCloud's dojo. Absolutely. And if you come at the right time, you may find Felipe right there having a conversation.
He calls me, I'm here. We used to work out a Sunday thing, and I stopped it because I was so busy. I was tired. I used to do Saturday program. It would exhaust me, and I just sleep all day Sunday. But I think we're going to try to start something again.
Come on. Awesome.
As I take the refrain from Grandmaster Bill McCloud. Peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings. Take care, family. Us.
Every student of a master here today, you reflect your master teacher. You want to walk like him. You want to talk like her. But you start by having an object in front of you that you admire.